My father's voice carried the same weight it always had, low and certain, as if stating facts was enough to bend reality, and my mother's expression was perfectly calibrated between disappointment and superiority, her lips tight, chin lifted as if she were delivering a verdict from some invisible court. And I knew before she even spoke that the stage had been set for another battle I didn't to choose. "We've decided," she said, the words like small hammers against my ribs. "You'll move into the smaller bedroom while your brother has the master." And I felt the familiar rush of old anger and disbelief because for 30 years I had been trained to say yes, to absorb their whims and manipulate my own needs into a pocket of silence, to let my energy, my money, my time flow toward their convenience. While my own home, my own comfort, was constantly negotiable, and yet in that hallway, holding the plate I had never set down, I realized something fundamental. This time I wouldn't bend, I wouldn't apologize, and I wouldn't let the same manipulations work again. I had learned their patterns, their weaknesses, their unspoken assumptions, and I had prepared silently, methodically, over months of careful planning, collecting documents, receipts, deeds, bank statements, notarized affidavits, and even recordings of phone conversations, every piece of evidence proving that the house, the accounts, and every asset that mattered to them was mine alone, legally, irrevocably, fully, and that they could not claim it without consequence. So I let them play their game, let Marco lounge like a prince expecting his crown, let my mother smirk like a general confident of victory, while I watched in silence, calculating, letting my pulse slow as I waited for the perfect moment. When they repeated their demand, I set the black folder on the coffee table with deliberate slowness, my hand steady, my eyes meeting each of theirs without fear. And I said, "No," letting the word hang between us like a wall, because one simple word can carry more weight than years of polite compliance. And Marco laughed, the sound sharp and entitled. "You don't get a say. This is a family house." And I looked at him calmly, without raising my voice. "Legally, it is mine, and only mine." And then I opened the folder, letting them see the first page, the deed in my name alone, crisp, notarized, untouchable. Then the bank statement showing decades of payments for utilities, renovations, and expenses they assumed I would cover without question. Then every contract and signature proving no co-ownership or shared contribution existed. And finally, the recording of a conversation with my loan officer confirming that no one else had legal claim or consent. And I watched their faces as the shock settled over them like a cloud. My mother's smirk cracking, Marco's jaw tightening, and even my father, the man who never raised his voice for decades, finally looked up, unsettled, almost afraid, whispering, You planned this?" And I smiled quietly, shaking my head. "No, I didn't plan to hurt you. I planned to protect myself. You're the ones who made the plan for me to fail, and I let the words sink in, each syllable perfectly timed. Because revenge is not anger, it is timing, patience, precision, and the quiet, unstoppable proof that the manipulator's assumptions were wrong. I told them plainly that they were welcome in my house, that they could visit, but they could not take what was mine. They could not walk over boundaries I had spent a lifetime learning to enforce. And I saw the comprehension in their eyes, the realization that their expectations of compliance had collided with an immovable truth, that the years of training me to serve, to yield, to apologize first, to hand over my freedom, had produced not a broken child, but a woman capable of unshakable clarity and calculated, silent power. And then I closed the folder, leaned back, and let the silence stretch between us like a lake reflecting every misstep they had made. And the room remained still, heavy with their disbelieving shock, until one by one they left, dragging their pride and entitlement behind them. And as the door clicked shut, I felt a weight lift that I hadn't known I was carrying, a sense of freedom born not from yelling, not from anger, but from certainty, from holding the undeniable truth and refusing to compromise. And as I walked through my living room, my house, my sanctuary, the golden evening light filtering through the windows, I understood that real revenge is quiet, subtle, legal, perfectly timed, and utterly satisfying because it doesn't humiliate with cruelty. It educates with inevitability. And for the first time in my life, the space around me felt peaceful, right, and completely my own, and I smiled softly, knowing that families like mine don't break, they erode, they test. They attempt to manipulate, but when you are ready, when you have built your defenses with patience and clarity, you don't just survive them, you transcend them, claiming back every inch of space, every ounce of respect, every dollar, every right, and walking forward with the calm knowledge that no one can make you small again, because you have already grown into the person they never imagined could exist.